Well, we got a special episode, don't we, Spencer?
Super special.
And we got Ashley today.
That's what makes it so special.
Well, yeah, buddy. We are covering Jerusalem by Alan Moore. Ha 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 ha! Bait and switch.
Well, one of these times is gonna be true.
Out of the ceiling just drops the Goliath right into your lap, shatters your legs so you can't get up. You're like, oh, fuck.
Just my whole pelvis is just fucking mangled.
Now read it live, on air, unending ceaselessness. No, we're doing a better story than that. Well, I wouldn't know. I didn't read that whole... I don't even know if it's one story. That book is scary. We are reading Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet. This is the very first Sherlock Holmes story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting. Before we even start, how about we just give a quick, did you like it?
Most of it.
Most of it.
Yeah.
I agree. Up till, because it's broken up into books, like first book 1 and book 2.
Part 1, part 2.
Something like that, yeah. I was 5 stars, loving it. It was, because I remember reading this as a kid, and it was just great. And I was so happy that I was like, yeah, Sherlock Holmes is fucking rad. Yeah. And then we just turned into this Cormac McCarthy fucking mid, like Western horse shit. Like, I was like, oh no. Which, I will say, that part of the story actually was like fairly well written and entertaining if it was his own thing. But it was just such a drastic change from the, rainy Sherlock Holmes England to fucking, I don't know, Utah. With Mormons. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is happening? I thought, okay, this is gonna be like a chapter. No, it just kept going and going. All right, I'm gonna read this introduction so we can learn more about studying Scarlet. Because I actually do have a pretty good introduction in this fancy collection I got here. I had to buy sticky notes for it, Spencer.
You mean you just didn't want to fill the pages on that one?
No, I did not. So it starts off here with all the Conan Doyle talk and how Sherlock Holmes is mad famous, and apparently he's been published more times than any other character in any other work of, not just fiction, but just any other work other than the Bible. So that's impressive. And he's been on screen more times than any other character. I did not know that. If you include plays, then he even goes up above that.
You have to look at Samuel L. Jackson because he's not only an actor, but he's a character.
But has he ever
been like, 500,000 movies?
Has he ever played Sherlock Holmes? He might have, like in a play or something. You don't know. That'd be cool. I would be down.
I'd watch that. Who'd be Watson?
Chris Rock.
Or just the regular Rock.
Yeah.
A grizzled Afghan veteran, and it's just the Rock. Like, he's very scary. He's large. So I'm not going to go into... I will actually read this part because this was just quite depressing. Apparently, in 2008, they did a poll in, the Greater Britain area. Britons, 58% of Britons surveyed thought Holmes was a real person, and only 23% thought Winston Churchill was real.
Oh, wow.
So that tells you where old Sherlock stayed. But I feel like that would be... You know what? I don't even want to get into it because every time I insult the Brits, they come over and yell at me very vigorously with their fingers.
Throw tea at you.
They're colonizing your freedom. They're
fucking colonizers.
Yeah, it's kind of uplifting to realize that British people are just as retarded as Americans, though. So
They just have better accents, but not all. Not all of them.
No. Some of them just goggly-goo.
I watch Mary Poppins. I know what a fucking Cockney accent sounds like. Thank you, Mr. Dan Van Dyke. So, after going on and on about the popularity of Sherlock Holmes, this goes into what makes this popularity and longevity even more amazing is the fact that the Sherlock Holmes stories were written quickly and carelessly by their author.
That makes sense.
Which is funny. He just wrote it for shits and giggles, just get some couple bucks his way.
Well, that's all the stories in that time period.
Mm-hmm. Doyle, he felt that his literary fame would rest on other more serious work. So this is the classic case of, all right, I'm just going to write some fluffy bullshit, like, some kind of Michael Bay shit where it'll give me some bucks, but I'm going to do my serious art. But nobody ever wanted the serious art. They just wanted Sherlock Holmes. So it's like he got pigeonholed by his own success. So that's great.
What a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah. And then it goes into his family history, which is long and boring because British people love long, boring family history. That's one thing Americans don't have. We don't give a shit about like ancestry too much versus
well, because that's like in some spots it's not a lot. It's a lot of the same thing going. A lot of people got the same.
yeah, like I don't know too many people that even know their great grandparents' history, let alone like their family until you go to the South, and then it's like, wow, you might not want to know that history. Let's see what else we got here. We got some Doyle, some memories. He had a library because he's a smarty poly fucking guy.
What's library?
He got married. I was gonna read this part, but this goes into too much detail. So here we go. We'll go into Sherlock Holmes, like the inspiration. Conan Doyle, this is his actual words. He was, I guess this is based kind of on his teacher, but he was also Edgar Allan Poe fan. So like the Auguste Dupin character, the famous first original ever
detective.
That's he was a big fan of that, so that's obviously an influence. But the Sherlock Holmes, just like his mannerisms and stuff, comes from this. I thought of my old teacher Joe Bell, of his eagle face, of his curious ways, of his eerie trick of spotting details. If he were a detective, he would surely reduce this fascinating, unorganized business to something near to an exact science. I would try if I could get this effect. It was surely possible in real life, so why should I not? And then he goes on about how, he used that as he's a catalyst for his character, based on a real person, I guess, who had very good detective skills, but he was a teacher. Also, elementary, my dear Watson never showed up in a Sherlock Holmes story. Fun fact, that's not a thing.
Not in any of them.
No, that was just, I guess, from plays or TV or movies or one of those things.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here before we get to the story. I did also think this was interesting, as this first story was supposed to be just like an original one-off. So Sherlock Holmes was not really fleshed out at all. So like even if you go into this part, which was in the story itself, this first story, Watson tells, like, he writes a list of what Holmes is good at, like what he knows and what he doesn't. So knowledge of literature, nil. Knowledge of philosophy, nil. Knowledge of astronomy, nil. Knowledge of politics, feeble. And the list in the actual story is longer. Like he talks about what he's good at, like biology and stuff like that. But like poisons, he's real good at poisons. But the way that the character was broken down originally, he was kind of like, Watson was definitely more of a fleshed out character versus Holmes, who was just very analytical, and he was really only good at being like a detective. Though he did have that cool quote where, I didn't highlight this here, but he talks about filling your head like it's an attic with information.
Yeah.
Because he didn't even he didn't even know like the earth revolved around the sun or something stupid like that. And he's like, well, that it doesn't matter to me. It has no importance. All it does is hold up vital space in my brain. So my brain's like an attic. You can only have so much space in there. You don't want to fill it with useless information. I was like, well, that's kind of cool. That makes me think maybe I should just dump all the dumb VH1 knowledge I have in my head from the 90s.
Good luck with that. That's forever stuck in there.
That is.
You're going to be old and feeble. You won't remember any of your family members' names, but you will remember.
But I'll remember the Milli Vanilli lip sync incident like it was yesterday.
Yep.
You know what's funny about that list about what he's good at? How it says like literature nil, but then like throughout the entire story, Sherlock Holmes is like quoting literature and obscure political papers. I'm like, I don't think it's nil.
No, I don't think it was either.
That doesn't seem right.
Well, in this introduction, at some point, it goes on about like when the character's actually fleshed out, he is better at all that stuff. And, in the future stories, if we ever cover any of those, it'll be more like he knows fucking everything. But
probably more what we know as a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, possibly the literature he was familiar with in this story all had to do with crimes. I'm not sure. I would have to look up some, because he was named some obscure stuff. And most of the things in this book or in this story that he was good at had to deal with crimes. So if it didn't have anything to do with crimes or solving crimes or anything like that, he didn't seem to give much of a shit about, except for music.
He was a detective weeb.
He was a fucking dork. I mean, let's see, where else do we got? There's a lot of Sherlock Holmes stories, and at one point he kills off the character who was very popular, and in America he got very popular too. And then he ends up bringing them back, which you don't have those. I think they're like the case files of Sherlock Holmes or something along those lines.
Yeah, but he had to bring it back because nobody wanted anything else from him, so he needed, like you were saying, the whole game pigeonholed kind of thing.
Yeah. Now I'm skipping ahead in this intro here. This is after all the talk about, I don't know if this actually goes back into this story though. It is almost impossible at this remove to overestimate the immediate impact of the Sherlock Holmes stories when they were first published. Conan Doyle did not invent the detective story. That honor goes to Edgar Allan Poe. But through his immensely popular creation and his inventive series of tales, he was almost single-handedly responsible for creating a huge public interest in tales of mystery and detection. And one of the things that he did that no other writer before him was able to do was create the Watson character. Not because I think the Dupont stories, I haven't read those yet, but I think that detective, even though he was the first detective, he had like a sidekick, but it didn't even have a name. It was,
it's probably just like like a lackey.
Yeah, but like Doyle, what he did so well in these stories is not only is Watson, at least in this first story, telling the story and he's writing it down, gives you that perspective, but he's like the one who kind of drives everything. He's asking the questions to Holmes, because if Holmes had his way, he wouldn't even been on this first story. Like he wouldn't even went into the crime. Like to solve it, because they came to him and he was just like, it doesn't really interest me. But it was Watson who was like, well, I want to know more about this.
Well, I know that a lot of at least in the adaptations and things and stuff, it always seems like Watson is the guy. You know, he got to kind of keep Holmes wrangled in and kind of, keep him on a leash a little bit, but let him also do what he does.
It's just a really good storytelling and writing device to have a character there who can kind of play the part of the reader, where it's like, well, I want to know, I want to ask this question. Well, Watson actually will ask that question. Or it's like, well, Holmes needs a hand. Well, there's Watson. Or if we need like a Deus Ex Machina real quick, well, Watson could jump in and save the day. Like, it's just good to have that character.
Yeah, because he is really well of being, like you said, like this wide-eyed, like, what's going on? But he's also very capable as well.
Yeah, because he is an Afghan vet. He's a doctor. And very interesting. Let's see if I can find this here. His original name was not Watson. It was something ridiculous, if I remember.
Wigglesworth.
I wish it was Wigglesworth. It was not Wigglesworth. What the fuck is that?
Slabby bottom.
Oh, come on, you dirty old whore. It was.
I'm right, but you don't need to yell.
I'm going to yell at you, and I'm going to yell it hard. There's so many fucking... That's one thing that makes me so sad is during this time period, he had so many magazines to choose from that he could submit his work to that paid well. And all the way up till the pulp era, like all these magazines published stories. And now what do we got? Dog shit.
Yep.
We don't got anything. Here it is. Watson was originally conceived as Ormond Sacker from Afghanistan. He is Ormond Sacker. I feel like Elementary, My Dear Sacker, would have not had the same impact as the famous quote we know now. And Holmes, I believe, was supposed to be... Yeah, Holmes was J. Sharon Ford Holmes. Sleepy-eyed young man, philosopher, collector of rare violins. And then he, thank God, got turned into Sherlock Holmes, which is a much cooler name. So, jumping into the story, as far as detective stories, this one was pretty straightforward for the most part. They find guys murdered, and there's a little blood on the wall that has a word that means revenge in German. And
I think you gotta go a little bit before that, how we actually got Holmes and Watson actually met.
Well, that's kind of the important part of this story, isn't it? I guess I'm skipping the old Holmes and Watson. So Watson, he's back from the Afghan war. He's, I would say, shell-shocked.
Yeah.
And injured. He has like an injury or something. He's looking for lodging, and wouldn't you know it, one of his buddies knows this very peculiar young man who's always in a laboratory. He's in a laboratory, but he's not a scientist, and he's always doing weird things, but he's not an actual detective. And he meets him. He's like, well, that does sound like Frankenstein. That guy is looking for a partner to share a fucking house with, because back then, guys just hooked up. And also, you wouldn't know this, Spencer, because you don't read a lot of stuff set in 1800s and before. A lot of man hugging and sleeping. Like, men back then just cuddled, and it was okay. I don't know when that stopped being favorable. It makes me so damn sad.
I don't know when you told me to go away.
Yeah, but you're a kicker when you sleep. Sorry. Where was I? Oh, so he introduces Watson to Holmes, and they're both kind of weird, so they fit together, and then they live together, and Watson is just enamored and fascinated by Holmes. And Holmes, I don't know if he really gives a shit about Watson or not. He just cares about solving crimes, but he doesn't. That's what I don't understand. It's like, yeah, he likes solving crimes for the fun of it, but he doesn't actually care about justice. And...
No, it's the riddle. It's the
and this
finding the answer.
And I hope this doesn't do a Robert E. Howard, Conan, let's repeat the same thing in every fucking story. So I don't know if this will come up again, but in this original story, this first story, he explains Holmes' problem-solving skills, exactly how he goes about it, the deductions. I can see how that could be one of those things if he was writing, stories for different magazines and stuff. Every one he'd be like, well, this is how I solve problems, and do the whole fucking deduction bit in every one, like how Conan was always, the blazing blue eyes and the raging hair, like all that dumb shit. Like every fucking story, Robert E. Howard, I know what he looks like. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we got Watson and Holmes meet up, and then there's a Moida, and the detectives two detectives, Lestrade and Gay Man or something, I forget his name, Gadriel, was something stupid. Lestrade. Let's say Guston, I like that. No, anyway, these guys are competing with each other, and the real master detective, Sherlock Holmes, is the one who's going to obviously, from the very get-go, solve the case, and these two are going to take credit for.
Yeah, because they set it up as like, this isn't the first time they went to him for help.
Yeah.
He's been helping them for a while now.
Now, for those who want to read this, I'm not going to give away the mystery or anything. We don't really have to go into the details too much. So I will say, I really like, and maybe it's just I'm a little biased because I read these when I was a kid and I really liked them, but Doyle's writing style I just really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fast-paced and easy to read, in my opinion, especially for the time period, because a lot of stuff back then, especially if Poe was one of his influences, I could see how it could be very bogged down, but it's not. They're very fun reads. This is why I'm going to go on a fucking complete different tangent here. This is why my opinion of YA is so low, because I grew up reading this kind of stuff, so this is what I think of as YA.
Well, yeah.
I think like Sherlock Holmes story is young adult, not fucking, whatever they got now, like Twilight and very poorly written rubbish that Ashley loves because he has all those collections. Don't you, Ashley?
Yeah, I do. All of them.
All the Maze Runners and the Hunger Games, and
you're just naming movies. So anyway, so we could give our actual proper critiques. I'm just going to skip ahead. We get to the whole murder mystery, and we actually catch the culprit. And that's the first half of the story, and it could be finished there, but no.
It really could have been done.
A fucking curveball that I did not expect. We go to Utah, man. Like, what, 20 or 30 years? I think 20 years before. And I will give Doyle credit where credit is due. I was pretty indifferent on Mormons. Like, I was like, oh, they're like happy, kind of weird people, but whatever. And I watch South Park, so, we get kind of, they're goofy, but they're nice.
I watch Big Love. I know.
I fucking hate Mormons now. Thank you, Doyle. You showed that they're evil assholes. At least they used to be. Just a fucking evil cult of assholes that just force women into marriage. Good Lord, it was, like I said, just went to a McCarthy story. Like, we just go to the American West of, like, Wyoming or Nevada. I don't even fucking know where. In the middle desert of America.
It's hot and sandy.
Yeah, and it starts off cool. It's a fucking guy and a little girl the scene kind of unfolds weird. They're like on a desert mountain or something. They're dying. They're fucking dying of thirst and stuff. But the little girl's like okay at first because she was in she's 5 years old, but she's in a knapsack the whole time.
Well, wasn't he like trying to come over the border or something like that?
I don't remember.
Mexico, I think.
Maybe there was.
It wasn't very clear
at the time. I don't think there was a difference really between Mexico and that part of the U.S. because I don't know if I don't know when the Mexican-American War was, but there was like a lot of land that was just kind of up for grabs there for a while. Because I don't even know if Utah was actually an established state yet when they go to Utah. But they end up hooking up with a bunch of Mormons, and there's some weird scenes with this little girl who is like doll-like almost. She's like very pristine, like her hair is blonde and curly, which later on it's not blonde anymore. Maybe she just grew out of it. I don't know if you guys caught that, but she was like a raging brunette or something.
Dude, yeah. There's so many inconsistencies. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. There's like a lot of stuff where it's like these two should have died a lot sooner probably, but they get saved by Mormons and they have to become Mormons because that's the law, is you have to be forced to be a super rich Mormon. But the Mormons hated this guy because John Ferrier, because even though he was great for their society and did everything they wanted, became rich and successful, he would not marry because he wasn't into bigamy. He wasn't a polygamist, so I don't blame him there. And he thought they were creeps, which they were. And then fucking Brigham Young of all people, an actual guy, the actual creator of what is it? The Latter-day Saints?
Joseph Smith.
Joseph Smith, I think, is dead by this point. Didn't he get murdered already?
I don't know.
I don't remember when he died. Yeah.
I don't care.
We're not going to go into the Mormon religion and shit on them too much because we may have Mormon listeners. And just note, I don't hate modern Mormons. As far as I know, I don't know any. So I'm not going to say I hate you guys for being weird because, as far as I know, you're just nice people now. But back then, in the 1800s, you're killing people that didn't want to marry a bunch of 13-year-olds. So, fuck those guys. Brigham Young, fuck you. He's in, according to O'Doyle. According to Doyle, Brigham Young was a fucking asshat, and everyone and that was the Mormon sucked. But the point is, it was just such a weird departure from this setting of Sherlock Holmes mysteries in England to just this Western story that goes on and on. It's literally 30 pages or something? It's like half the fucking story, which is 72 pages. So I was thrown off by that. And again, if that was just its own story that had nothing to do with Sherlock Holmes, that would have been fine.
Yeah.
But it was just this really long-winded way of saying, oh, it was a love triangle, kind of.
Well, I was explaining it to the one person at work the other person at work that actually reads. Because I was telling her that I was reading this, and when I finished it, I was like, oh, I finally finished that Sherlock Holmes story I was telling you about, and she was asking how it was. I was like, I liked most of it.
It's just,
and then it got through the halfway point, it just switches to this whole other thing, and
different writing style too.
And I was
weird,
and it was good. It was written well. It's probably written better than what I'm giving it credit to because I was at a point just kind of skimming through some stuff because I was just
you didn't care about what was happening.
I was if I'm reading a Sherlock Holmes story, I want some fucking Sherlock Holmes.
Again, though, this is the first story, so Sherlock Holmes was not the main. I mean, he was the main character, but he really wasn't expected to be anything beyond this one story.
I just hope that that's not a trend for
other stories.
He catches the bad guy, and then you get the whole bad guy's origin story.
Well, here's what was confusing: who the fuck was telling this part of the story that's so long? Because it's not Watson doesn't know it, and when we get finally back to England, the guy that they captured that's from that story reiterates the whole fucking thing again.
I was gonna say that's also what super pissed me. I was like, why didn't we just have this whole thing?
He could have just said that stuff at the end and it would have been done. Because he does. He goes over it all over again. So we go through this whole. We see it. We see the whole fucking actual cause of this mystery unravel in America, and then this guy goes on this 20-year revenge fucking binge. And then he goes, which is kind of cool. It was a Kill Bill thing. And then he ends up in England after traversing fucking all of Europe to find these guys that did him wrong. And then and I kill him way better than he killed him, though. He poisoned one guy. Come on, do some fucking head cleaving. But anyway, you're going to get revenge. Get proper revenge. He wanted justice. Fuck you, guy.
Style.
Yeah, he was such a goody American that he had to get proper justice, legal justice, even though it was illegal. You still killed him. Just kill him better. But anyway, so we get back there, though, but they capture him, and he's a real cool guy, and of course he has a heart problem, so his heart's going to blow up, so he's never going to have to face his own justice. So I was like, well, that's good to know. And then he goes on, even though he could die any second, he goes on for fucking another 20 pages, reiterating the whole story that nobody who told the story. It just Doyle told us that story in the West. Nobody, because this whole thing's set up as Watson's the narrator. And then we just have a completely different story set in America that's not told by anyone. It's just us seeing it. And then we go back, and then not John Ferry, or what is the name? Something Hope.
Jefferson Hope.
Jefferson Hope. He reiterates the whole story that we just read,
which was perfectly summed up what we just read. Which we wouldn't have needed any of that.
No. And by the way, the whole mystery was already solved by this point.
Yeah.
We just needed to know why the guy did it. And that's why we get a 30-page Western. And then we get another 10 or 20 pages of exposition telling us, again, what we just read. And then the guy's heart explodes, and that's kind of it. So that
alien stuff.
Yeah. So so that definitely dropped. That was a 5 out of 5 until I got to the Western, and then that dropped at a point.
Was anybody confused at the beginning? The first couple pages, it took me a minute to realize that it was Watson telling me the story. Because a little bit. Yeah, because it was I couldn't tell if it was him talking or if it was the friend he was meeting at the bar telling the story at first. I just assumed that it was Watson because it's what other way, whatever way would you tell the story? But it didn't. It was having trouble making that clear, at least to me, in the beginning of the story.
To be honest with you, after the Western, I don't remember the beginning of the story at all. I completely lost it. I got lost
Didn't
in the
it
sauce.
start out with like in the beginning it was talking and using John Watson as the name
That's what I
when he
thought.
was, and then like it switches to I was like, so yeah, I totally get that. And then I was also confused with like, how did Sherlock know Jefferson Hope's name? Like, am I the only one that was confused by that? Because he like,
well, you didn't manage to get to the very, very last couple pages because you read it earlier, right? Because Holmes, in that reiteration, he goes on and deducts. He shows his whole deduction process again, reiterating everything, and he showed that he got Jefferson Hope's name because he called Cleveland, where there was a police report against him for trying to get these guys. So he did get his name. Because that was another long spiel, was he fucking broke down exactly which was kind of cool, how he broke down, well, this is how I got here, because I saw there were wagon wheels in the street, but they weren't normal wagon wheels, and then he just goes on and on. It's like, yeah, it starts off, in the year 1878, I took my degree of Doctor of Medicine of the University. Yeah, so I would assume that was the old Watson man. But yeah, then it gets kind of funky there. I don't know. Cool story, man. You guys like that story? By Jove, I cried. Sorry, well, I like that.
I was gonna try to read the second story I had in my collection, or maybe like a short story before we recorded, since I started reading a little bit before you.
Yeah.
And then, but by the time I got to the end of that, I was like, I don't need any Sherlock Holmes right now. Like, I mean, something else to get it.
It was just like very disappointing. If he left that Western part. What he should have did is had Jefferson Hope tell us that part. Like, not go so long with it and like really break it down as his own story. Just have Jefferson Hope just be like, hey, this is why I killed these guys, and you just, talk about it real quick.
Well, I wonder if when it was coming out, if it was like by those chapters. So he was probably just trying to milk it for some extra money.
That's very possible.
Probably.
Yeah. Official ratings, guys.
I would give it a 3.
A 3?
Yeah, because I would have gave it a 4 because like it was good, but it didn't like wow me. But then like how with like the Western stuff knocked it down a point, so it would have been 4, got knocked down to 3.
Yeah, I'll do a 3 as well. Not only because like I didn't the story, like I'll agree, was really well paced. I thought was sort of light and fun and everything like that. I just didn't give a shit about the murder.
Yeah,
like it just like, oh, this man was murdered in his house and all this. I'm like, I don't like.
It didn't really
is this a random murder? Like that, it literally is. And I'm like, why do we care about this? Like, why are you so involved?
Yeah, because you always kind of in the other stuff, it's like Sherlock Holmes is brought in for like the hard, weird cases, So it's just kind of like, oh, this is just so hopefully it's just one of those things as the other stories come out and he progresses it, so
it'll like mature and get more complicated.
You know what I just thought of? Because I was thinking, well, maybe why Holmes had the interest in the case was because it was an American murdered, so it was a foreigner.
Maybe.
So maybe that piqued his interest. Now I'm thinking not just the whole because all the characters are American that are in this crime. Jefferson Hope was an American, and the two guys he's going after were American Mormons. I'm thinking maybe this was purposeful on Doyle's part, and also that whole spiel with the West is because he wanted to get into the American audience, and he thought maybe that'd be a good way to get into it. Because he was writing a lot of historic fiction at the time, I believe. Because I think he had a novel out or something, and I think he just wanted to, not just get money, but get his name out there more. And I'm sure he wanted to tap into a different growing market.
Yeah, grow that audience.
So that's the only thing I could imagine why he would go to all that fucking work of like, because when you do read that Western part, he like broke that down like you'd think that was written by an American. Other than Ashley, he mentioned like the way the little girl talk was kind of stupid, which I agree. But he even the speech of the other Americans, it almost felt like I was reading like a Cormac McCarthy, how he does it, because they had accents. I thought that was well done. I don't know if Doyle ever, went to the United States or if he just read up on it or if he had American friends. I have no idea. But I did think that was interesting. I give it a 4. I thought it, because I just really did enjoy the beginning. Again, it wasn't so much the mystery. I just like the deductions. Yeah. Like how he explained how he got to, point A to point Z. I just thought that was really fun. And I haven't read a mystery in so long. Honestly, the last fucking mystery I probably read was one of the Sherlock Holmes stories, like Hounds of the Baskerville or something. So, and that was when I was like a kid, maybe a teenager. So it's been a while. So I'd read more of those. Though.
Oh, definitely. It's just I need a little bit of a break to get
get
that taste out of my mouth from the ending of the first one. Hopefully, as we read in the next ones, you won't. Well, it'll be more of like, oh, I want to read the next one now. This makes me want to read the next one.
Well, like I said in the intro, Sherlock Holmes gets fleshed out a lot more once Doyle realized, oh, he should be like an actual reoccurring character, such as like the Conan stories, or like when you write it just the one story and only think it's gonna be the one story. You're not really trying to give the character backstory as much. You don't want to. You don't have to go into all that work. Like he gave Watson more backstory than Holmes. I don't think we even really learn anything about Holmes in this.
He has a weird nose.
Yeah. He has a weird hook-like nose or something.
I'm interested to see how some of the short stories are, because I imagine those are probably gonna be more compact and like probably kind of like maybe quick moving, or the mysteries going at a faster pace.
Yeah, because to be honest, this was the reason why I picked this to be a book of the month, is because it's pretty much a novella.
Yeah,
because it's like 72 pages.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Of like, how would you categorize it? Because it's not like actually, it's the first book, but it's not really like a novel. I would
say novella. Of course, it would literally be half the length if we didn't have the Western stuff. So that was fun. What I'm currently reading now is Dubliners by James Joyce. So that's short stories, though. Why are you making that grouchy face over there?
Because that just sounds
cultured swine.
That sounds terrible.
You know what? You don't know nothing about nothing.
That's a fair point.
I wanted something that would be a quick read because I'm trying to put off the Silmarillion because my brain really started to melt there. And
is that a quick read? Because like anytime I've ever heard like.
It's like 170 pages.
Well, but isn't that writing style? Isn't it like a lot?
It's not like Ulysses or Finnegan's Wake. Not everything he wrote is just nonsense.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
His first couple works are real stories that you can actually follow.
Just with anything I see in that literature group and stuff, it's just always just like the impenetrable wall of.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna need to take about 13 university accredited courses, and then you could finally read Ulysses. So what are you guys reading currently? Sherlock Holmes?
No. I just started that Unfamiliar Garden, which is that second book in that comic, that psychological comic series by that Benjamin Percy.
Oh yeah.
That because that one's only like it's like 206 or 207 like pages. So I figure I'll be able.
What'd you rate that first book?
Huh?
What'd you rate that first book?
I never got around to doing an actual rating, but I'd put it like a 4. I'd give it around like a 4, yeah.
It's like sci-fi.
Yeah.
But you, Mr. Ashley?
Currently reading Turn on the Heat by Earl Stanley Gardner. So it's one of those hard case crimes, and it's like this little dude going around trying to solve a missing persons thing and all this shit. And
you read a lot of hard crime stuff this year.
I've read like 2.
Yeah, you sent me the one, and we read the Gutter and the Grave, and didn't you read Later? Well, I guess Later by Stephen King wasn't this year.
No, that was last year.
The point is, you love some hard crime.
Oh man, I love any crime that's hard.
Boiled.
I don't. You know what I don't. You know what I don't like? Soft crime.
Yeah.
Like
PG crime,
larceny, like fucking like
jaywalking,
petty theft.
You're just watching the crime and you're like, I could go for something harder, actually.
I need something a little thicker and harder.
I need more stimulation.
Really going to ram me home when I read this.
I need to have nightmares afterwards.
James Joyce has kind of been giving me nightmares. I don't know if you ever read
dreams talking about poop.
James Joyce, I always have to read his books with my fucking thumb at the back in the appendix so I could read some of the definitions of the words he's using. Because like, at least these Wordsworth or Wordsmith or whatever the fuck collections they are, they actually have like, oh, if you don't know what a stirry pot is, this is what it is. And I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, porridge? Okay. Like you get to, I don't know, learn whatever. I'm glad they have that. Of course, the really hard stuff he's talking about, that I have no idea. Nothing. Don't fucking know anything about it. And he likes to throw a lot of Latin in, so I don't know me any Latin.
It's like David Foster Wallace right there.
David Foster Wallace is what I considered a grade A fuckface. Nobody needs to be that intelligent, and nobody needs to flaunt it the way you do, Mr. Wallace.
Nobody that's writing needs to be that intelligent.
Yeah, anyone that intelligent deserves to kill themselves.
jerk. Go be a fucking physicist, and then maybe you want to fucking off yourself. Why did he kill himself besides depression? Didn't he have like a problem with his woman or something? I read so many awful things after we did that Oblivion about him just like yelling. Like I think he like threw a woman through a window and beat her in the head with the. I'm making that up. I don't know. But I think he was Ric Flair chopping some. Oh, you guys want to get disgusted real quick?
Okay.
I think I might have told you this. There's a young guy I work with. He's like 20 years old, and he was talking smack or something when we were delivering. And I said, "You better shut up, or I'm gonna Ric Flair chop you." And he just kind of looked at me. So later I was like, he don't know what a Ric Flair chop is. So later I did the Ric Flair chop right in the fucking chest, and I went, "Whoa!" And he's like, what the fuck? And he's like, "Why'd you woo?" And I was like, "Ric Flair chop." He's like, "Who's Ric Flair?" And I went, and I fucking did it again. Like, I would have put him in the figure 4 right then and there.
You should have gave him a thumb in the eye.
You don't know Ric Flair?
The low blow.
These kids, man, fucking Gen Z.
Did
kids.
you style and profile for him?
What do you think? Well, apparently my styling and profiling that I do every week has been for naught because he didn't know what I was doing. He just thought I was walking fancy.
He was walking funny.
Fucking, he probably thought I was doing a TikTok dance.
That's so sad.
It really is depressing. You know what? We'll end on this since we got a couple minutes here. Writing wise, where are you guys at?
What's right?
That's good. What's right?
I got a couple hundred words the other day, which finished the chapter that I've been slagging on for the past few weeks. But I also got a good bit, like plotted out, like the next couple of chapters, which should be like the last couple.
Right.
So I'm hoping now, since I have like just like a loose kind of plotting outline, that will kind of help my log jam of what am I gonna do like next. So hopefully, here in the next few weeks, I'll get back on the uptick like I was like a month or so ago.
Get it, girl.
Get it in your vagina.
That's not where I was going with that at all. That's
Get it in your man pussy.
Oh my gosh.
What about you, Ash? You just said you don't even know what writing is anime, so I don't know if that's
words.
Got
I'm
anything?
on my 19th rewrite of this chapter. So that's about 43,000 words down the drain.
If you hit 20, maybe give up. Just
move to the next chapter.
I can't move to the next chapter.
He's a linear
It's
writer.
impossible.
You can't do it.
I can't. No, I can't.
Have you
Like, I can write this chapter. No, I can't. I just can't move past it.
Have you just tried writing better?
Did you just try to suck at it?
I just got the Stephanie Meyer's Guide for Success, so I thought I'd read that and see how to write better, more gooder.
Take an Anne Rice novel and then just change the words.
Really?
That's all you got to do, because then you have your vampire story, and then you can, it's already written. You just change the words. Just get the thesaurus and change it everywhere.
Problems. Like, I'm not writing a vampire story, so I guess if I do that, then I'm going to have to go back and change everything again. I don't want to do that.
I don't blame you. My story's coming along. I've been working on it every day. Some days are harder than others. This heat's been melting.
Oh, I was suspecting when I came down here today that you just be in a bowl, just liquid Caleb in a bowl.
Yesterday it was because my truck AC broke, and then it's broken, and then which is even better, the blower, which would at least blow hot air on me, also broke.
Oh, so you just stagnant air.
Yeah, and it's always at least 15 degrees hotter in the cab than it is out of the cab, so I've been really melting. But yesterday was so bad that I actually stopped at the shitty mall because I wanted to get some writing done. Yeah. So I was like, well, fuck it. At least I could go and sit on the bench in the mall and do some writing on my lunch. They don't have fucking AC there anymore.
What?
Oh my god!
It's going out of business. It's like so shitty of a mall. They didn't have AC on in there, so I was fucking melting, and I literally couldn't write because I would have smudged all the ink.
Yeah.
When I was like, so I didn't get any writing done. And when I got home, I just died. I just fell over and I just died. So that's how that's been going. Today I did get some writing done. I just sat in the hot truck and just powered through it. I held it like a little kid holds a crayon, just like. And then I got like a couple paragraphs, and then I was like, that's good enough. And I shut the book, and it went like a slapping liquid. So I was like, ew. I don't know. That's good.
I just picture you like inside that cabin, like Vegeta when he's training in the machine with 100 times gravity. And it's just red and you're sweaty. Can't move.
My core temperature is like over 100 every day, just permanent. I don't like my life right now. Just with and I don't mind the heat. It's just like I don't want to be baking and then being very active and then try to write does not work.
See, with the AC not working, I just be like, I'm not doing this, guys. I'll work inside, at the warehouse or whatever, but I'm not driving this hunk of shit until you get this fixed.
Well, the other truck I get to drive doesn't have AC at all. Like, it's just not an option. Like, so,
what?
Yeah.
When was that truck made? In like the 60s? Like,
apparently up till the 2000s, a lot of, I don't know, it was Sterling. So a lot of those kind of trucks just didn't have fucking AC in them. The guy was telling me, well, in my day, because, that's what they do when you don't have. Back in my day, we just had floor vents and they blew the air and we didn't have no fancy AC. And I was like, well, I don't have fucking floor vents. You want me to carve them in? I'm hot. I'm sitting on the engine. Leave me alone.
Also, like, back in your day, it probably wasn't like 99 degrees in the middle of June, probably.
Back in your day, the planet wasn't melting. You guys had winters.
You had seasons.
I'm so sorry you suffered. Why do you want me to suffer too?
Oh, you fucking jerks.
One better than me.
Well, we get seasons too. We get hurricane season, tornado season, blizzard season, heat wave season, drought season. That's my favorite.
Women's March season.
Oh, don't go there, Ashley. They're going to come for you again.
Bring it.
Bring the ruckus. So that's our review of Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet. I like the name.
Yeah.
And he explains the name in there. I forget what the explanation was, but I like the name. Very cool. Oh, is it because the guy wrote the revenge word on the wall in blood? And he said something as like, it's a study in Scarlet. I'm like, yay.
They said the name of the title. They said the name of the title.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you're a much better writer than I. You fuck. Was everybody back then just great? Or is it just because there was such a limited amount of writers that the ones who got successful were great?
Yeah, I think there was so much harder in a way that
you couldn't get published if you were garbage, so only the great ones got published.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. So it just makes everyone seem like they're great, but there's probably a lot of shitty writers that we never heard of, and I wish that trend continued today, but it doesn't. It does not. We get a lot of shitty writers that top the New York Times bestsellers list, and I don't like it at all.
Well, hey, if it wasn't for that, we would maybe not get we might not get any opportunities if they just got rid of all the shitty writers.
Maybe we don't deserve the opportunity, Spencer. I don't know. I think we should do cage matches.
Yes.
Writer cage matches. So, call the herd a little. Just like, hey, it's a fight to the death. If you're not good, you die. And then we just,
But you'd have to put like 15 of them in there because could you just, how long it would take two of them just to like weak witch slapped each other to death? Like.
You see Mike Tyson step in because he just got done with his autobiography.
Fuck, son of a bitch.
God damn it. Not fair.
Goodbye, John Grisham.
Murdered. Just punch his head off like Jason in Jason Goes to Manhattan. Just uppercut your whole head off. So we thank you for listening. If you want to see some drunken book reviews that don't really correlate with this, but they are reviews that we do, you go to drunkenpenready.com where all your needs are met. Sorry, that got gross. You could go to what's the thing we fucking do on the Twitter? Drunk Pen Writing.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook at Drunken Pen Writing. And holy shit, I didn't give you a name. I know it's a book of the month episode, but I always give you a name, Spencer.
You didn't give me a name.
Somebody give me a state or a city or a country quickly.
Easter Island.
Easter. It's got to be one word.
Easter.
That doesn't work.
Galapagos.
Spencer, the Galapagos Goo Gusher Church. Ooh. That's where it went.
That's better than what I thought you were going to go when I heard goo.
Gargler and Guzzler were
that's what I figured you were going to go with.
It's a Sherlock Holmes episode. We might get some finer listeners, so I wanted to keep that. Well, I guess I ruined it anyway.
Well, we already got the download, so.
Yeah, so if you wanted that, go to Spencer's OnlyFans, the Galapagos Goo Guzzler Gargler, and God, whatever else you can come up with. Thank you for listening, and we will check you next week with the normal episode. Maybe.
What's normal?
Ones that aren't drunken bullshit episodes.
I thought those were normal.
They're the new normal. Like the pandemic is the new normal. Yeah.